Welcome to today's Explainer. We're taking a famously angsty 90s rock anthem and, well, we're elevating it. We're going to unpack it as a profound critique of modern societal control. We are, of course, talking about the Smashing Pumpkins' absolute classic, Bullet with Butterfly Wings. You already know the song, you definitely know the sound, but today we're really going to look at the deep, systemic frustrations hiding right there in plain sight within those lyrics. So let's just jump right in.
Right off the bat, Billy Corgan hits us with this incredibly iconic lyric. The world is a vampire sent to drain. It just instantly establishes this dark, parasitic tone, doesn't it? It tells us right away that we aren't just dealing with your run-of-the-mill teenage angst here. No, we're dealing with a worldview where society itself literally preys on the individual, constantly draining our energy and our innocence.
Section 1. Anatomy of Existential Angst. We've really got to begin this journey by validating that super familiar, completely visceral feeling of being trapped by systemic pressures. Because honestly, that is exactly what this song taps into. It's an absolute anthem of total disillusionment with modern society.
To truly grasp what's going on here, we have to redefine the rat in a cage as way more than just a catchy lyric to scream in your car. We're talking about the modern citizen, cornered, suffocated by commercialism, and facing a massive loss of personal autonomy. This cage we're talking about, it's the repetitive routine, the constant corporate surveillance, and just that overarching societal control that boxes us in every single day.
The source material actually explicitly identifies this track as an anthem of disillusionment against those exact destructive forces. Frontman Billy Corgan wrote this to capture that precise, suffocating feeling of being pinned down by the sheer weight of modern commercialism. It's really less of a song and more of a primal scream against the machine.
Moving on to Section 2, the bullet and butterfly, let's look at how these core visual metaphors really illustrate our incredibly fragile existence. This brilliantly illustrates the extreme juxtaposition happening in the song's very title. Think about it. On one side, you have the bullet. It represents speed, destruction, inescapable danger. And then on the other side, butterfly wings, delicate fragility, beauty, freedom. This contrast perfectly highlights how incredibly fragile human freedom actually is when it's just constantly threatened by the heavy, destructive machinery of the world. Section 3, the trap of modern life. So, if it's a cage, why don't we just break out of it? Well, the answer actually lies in the stories popular culture uses to convince us to stay inside.
To really understand this trap, our source material uses this incredibly sharp, honestly unexpected lens to examine two cultural barometers, James Bond and Sherlock Holmes. By looking at how our society treats these two massive, iconic characters, we can actually start to see the hidden blueprint of the very cage we're living in.
Which brings us to Section 4, subjects versus sovereign citizens. And guys, this is where the analysis gets incredibly fascinating. So think about James Bond. Bond represents the absolute ultimate fantasy of a subject. He executes national might without question. He's a literal instrument of the crown. But then you have Holmes. Holmes represents the triumph of radical, independent thought. He operates totally outside the establishment, relying entirely on his own reason and his own individual autonomy. The crucial divergence happens right about here. When society exalts James Bond as the ultimate hero, what we're actually glorifying is compliance, state-sanctioned violence, and basically being a highly effective cog in a machine. But look at Holmes. In him, we see curiosity, intense skepticism, and independent reason. The reality is, modern bureaucratic states and corporate media want to manage us as passive subjects, like Bond. They definitely don't want to empower us as questioning citizens like Holmes. And that means the cage is built entirely on this compliant subjecthood. The system tells us, hey, as long as you look cool, consume the right products, and just play your part, you're free. But it's an illusion. It creates this wild dynamic where even our totally righteous human rage is just neatly packaged as a cool aesthetic for mass consumption. We think we're being so rebellious, but honestly, we're really just the rat, happily running on the wheel, unknowingly serving the system the whole time. And the real tragedy here is the forgotten Holmesian spirit. By culturally exalting all that compliance and forgetting the deep, investigative skepticism of Sherlock Holmes, society essentially breeds out our independent inquiry. We lose our critical thinking tools. We stop looking for the clues about why we're entrapped in the first place. And instead, well, we just learn to love our cage because, hey, it has a pretty nice view.
Seen through this intellectual lens, Billy Corgan's famous cry, "Despite all my rage, I am still just a rat in a cage," man, it takes on a massive new weight, doesn't it? It is the absolute ultimate lament of knowing you are being treated as a disposable subject. You feel this deeply instinctive anger, but then you also realize your rebellion has been safely co-opted by the exact same culture you're trying to rebel against.
Which brings us to the million-dollar question. If our critical independence is being suppressed and our anger is being co-opted by the very cage we're trapped in, what on earth do we actually do with all this rage? How do we stop running on the wheel? Section 5, Alternative Rock as Catharsis. You see, the song isn't just a loud complaint. It actually serves as a vital antidote to all this modern alienation. Despite the incredibly deep-seated cynicism we've just been unpacking in the lyrics, the song ultimately serves as a release valve. It takes all that pain and complete powerlessness and channels it straight into aggressive, high-energy alternative rock. It takes that isolated, lonely feeling of being a trapped rat and transforms it into this massive, powerful, shared catharsis. Because the true power of the song is about finding solidarity. By screaming these lyrics together at a packed concert, or, even just alone at the top of your lungs in your car, listeners are overcoming cultural alienation. You're acknowledging the systemic trap and connecting through a deeply shared frustration. It proves that simply identifying the cage is the very first, absolutely most vital step toward reclaiming your true personal autonomy. So as you go about your daily routine today, I'm going to leave you with this final thought to ponder. When you're confronted by the massive machinery of modern life, the corporate surveillance, the endless repetitive routines, which role are you actually choosing to play? Are you the compliant subject, or are you the independent citizen? Really think about it. Thanks for joining me on this explainer today, and whatever you do, keep questioning the cage.